Greetings. Thank you for tuning in once again to the third episode of our Top Lawyer series by The Lawyer Africa. My name is Efijan Antieno, and today we have a distinguished advocate of the High Court. And for most of us, we just see him and remember impeachment proceedings or election proceedings. But today we want to hear a little bit more about him, about his firm, and get to know him other than just Ndegwa as the lawyer. So maybe, Ndegwa, hi.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for welcoming us to your office.
Well, thank you.
Maybe for a start, you can introduce yourself to our
Thank you, Lawyer Africa. My name is Ndegwa Njiru. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I think 13 years now standing. I'm a father of two boys. One is aged 9 and the other one 3 years. The 9 one is Ndegwa Njiru Jr.
Yeah.
I'm married to one wife, Lorraine and Anu Ndegwa. She's from Kambani. She's currently lecturing at Catholic University. She lectures law there. And she's also a partner in this firm. Yeah.
Okay, lawyers are keeping it within the profession.
Yes, we are zero grazing.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
So then maybe we can just go into the interview straight on. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how Ndegwa Njiru got to where he is, because now that's a brand name.
Yeah. Oh, great. With a lot of humility. I began, I think, my practice even before I became a lawyer. And the person who induced us to this is our dad. Of course, our dad was a prominent farmer and a businessman also during his days. And so he would take us to court. I remember he had one case about in the rent restriction tribunal. That was my first encounter with court. Back in 1995, and I was in the lower primaries. And of course, there was this young advocate called Wairimu Rugaita. She looked newly admitted to the law, and she was vibrant, and we could not even understand what a court is all about. All we knew is that you're supposed to remain silent in court. And so our dad induced us. He actually introduced us those issues. This is now a vibrant advocate I've just spoken about. And I started to admire her. And I felt like, hey, I would one day wish to be like Wairimu Rugaita. She's now practicing in Kirinyaga and Embu. So that's how we all began, by seeing, admiring, and believing.
Wow, that's interesting, and you're quite the storyteller, actually. Thank you so much. I don't think I would have imagined that would be your start in my wildest dreams.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So in your career spanning 13 years, that's a long time. What would you say has been your highlight or your key milestones in this career?
I think part of it has been the promulgation of the new constitution. Because I remember we also took serious part in it. That is way back in 2010. During that process of promulgation of the constitution, I got to appreciate some principles that came with it. And part of it is what now spring me into what I am, and that is Article 10 of the Constitution. Article 10 of the Constitution is one that speaks about the national values and principles of governance. And among them is that there is a principle of public participation. So this doctrine of public participation, I introduced it in Governor Wambora's impeachment. I had not met Governor Wambora. I had not known him. I even think in his wild imagination, he never thought that a person like me exists. So when the matter began, when his impeachment matter began in Kerugoya High Court, I happened to have called him that previous night. The persons who were on record for him by that particular time was Hamid Nasil, people like Akina Senior Counsel Paul Moite, people like Akina Senior Counsel Ojienda. And so for me, it was Kibe Mungai, and I think who else was there? I can't remember the others who were there. So for me, I followed from the peripheries. It was on a Monday morning. I called him on Sunday evening, and I told him, Your Excellency, I've seen something, I've seen your petition, but I think there's something that is missing in that particular petition. So he told me, come Wakili, at that particular time the client is desperate.
Yeah.
So he come to Kerugoya. So I went to Kerugoya. I was not on record, I was nothing. And so I just followed. Fortunately, I had printed out the case of Doctors for Life. It's a South African case. It's a locus classicus case in terms of public participation. Because the doctrine of public participation was borrowed from South Africa.
Yeah.
And it is one that is trying to bring the concept of participatory democracy, where you're involving the people in the processes. So I told him, you see, your impeachment has gone through the county assembly. There was no public participation. It's a fundamental issue. That's how I got into the impeachment issues. So that matter ended. Oh, sorry, Mr. Nyamu was also there. Winfred Nyamu was also in that particular case. And so I got incorporated into the impeachment processes. And also there was also another lawyer called Njiru. Njiru practices in Embu. He has his law firm there. That's how I got in these issues. And then I did that case for Governor Wambora. We had been impeached by the Senate. I got orders to reinstate him. And that's how I got into this. And by the way, Peter Wanyama was also in that particular matter. As we progress, I'm also remembering them. That's how I got into it. I got the conservatory orders for him, and he was really thrilled by it, because the senior councils had not gotten it. They had lost their application. But my application was even the last one to ever be heard by the court. By the time the application was being heard, the impeachment process was complete. We went before Justice Mwongo. And so Justice Mwongo was saying, I am aware that this application was before us, before this court, even before the processes of finality of the finalizing the impeachment of Governor Wambara was done. I am now agonizing as to which remedy to give, noting that the impeachment has already taken place and the governor has been removed. However, the application has succeeded on the basis of public participation. What do I do as a judge? I have to order conservatory orders to reinstate him pending the hearing. And that's how I got into all this stuff. So that was my one of the major milestones I ever achieved in the legal practice. From there, I did cases for people like people like Akina Waititu. We then got engaged in the case for impeachment of Governor for Kirinyaga County, Governor Waiguru. We successfully prosecuted the case, but the committee was compromised. And it ended the way it ended. I then got recruited in the case for Governor Sonko. And then it's interesting to know how I got in the case of Governor Sonko's impeachment. Very interesting. Because during the case for the impeachment for Governor Waiguru, some guys tried to play games with me, trying to find out whether they can try to compromise me. And I stood my ground and I said, I have instructions for my client. If my clients then invites me to do what you are then telling me to do, I'll oblige. So, word went out that there's some guys who are trying to compromise me, and I declined the invitation. So I think somehow, during the impeachment of Governor Sonko, they then realized there are some guys who can still stand on their position, who have integrity. That's how I got into it. The fact that you cannot compromise me. So those are some of the virtues that I've also learned in legal practice. That clients want individuals who cannot be compromised. Individuals who will deliver the client's instructions irrespective of anything else. Then I also got into the case of Governor Muhammad of Wajir. We successfully defended him. Hame Nasil, Senior Counsel Hame Nasil is the one who was prosecuting for the county assembly. We got into it. We had serious wars in that particular case with the Senior Counsel Hame Nasil, an advocate whom I highly regard with great respect. We had our own differences, to the extent that in that case, Senior Counsel Hame Nasil made an application before the court for me to be held in contempt.
What did you do?
What had happened is that Senior Counsel Hame Nasil played game. There were some games that were played. There was influence that was done. You know, we were representing petitioners because these were wananchis.
Yeah.
So the petitioners were induced to do a notice of change of advocates from us to some other advocates.
Oh, okay.
I had indicated that during the hearing of the petition for Governor Mahmoud, the Wajir case, which was being heard by a 3-judge bench in Meru, which we had filed and representing some petitioners. So I was held in contempt that I failed to apologize to Senior Counsel Hamed Nasir. And in my evaluation, I didn't see the reason I should have apologized. Because I was also wronged. He wronged me as much as I also replied to the letter. So now the beef that you see between me and Hamed Nasir, the one you can see occasionally
on Twitter,
it emanated from that particular case, all the way from the Senate, all the way from the County Assembly in Wajir to the Senate to the court. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
That's how it has been. So those are some of the cases we have done. Of course, and so many other ones. Some of them have been risky to do, but you know, it's a call of duty.
Yeah.
You have to do it anyway. You know, if a patient comes before a doctor and the doctor has to make an opinion of amputing that leg, it has to be amputed because that's the only way you can save the patient. So even for us, when times calls for duty and it has to be done, we have to do it. Many people keep on asking me, don't you fear to do risky cases like for Maina Jenga, those ones of Akina Babu, we know, you know, those hotly contested political cases. And I say I'm the only person who has to do it now. It has to be done because we must do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem to have been involved with a lot of politicians and in the politics.
Yes.
Any political ambitions for you?
Yes. By the way, in 2013, I contested in Gishugo constituency.
No way. I didn't know that.
And I was very fresh from school. I ranked number 4. 2022, I was a deputy governor for a particular candidate, but because of the issues of the Jubilee and the affiliate party in Azimio, we were asked to step down. So although our names had been printed in the ballot, we stepped down. So we still have political ambitions because there are so many ways that you can change and affect significantly in the community.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary or an issue of life and death for me, because you can still change the society. One of the best cases I've also involved in was a case for Willie Kimani.
Oh yeah.
The Willie Kimani's case. I was involved. So we all met to organize the demos that were there.
Yeah.
We were led by Senior Counsel Akelo, who was the president of the LSK as at then. And so I remember we all gathered at the Supreme Court. It's a certain hall where we gathered. And then there was a question of who is going to volunteer to go and do this case for habeas corpus. By then, news had not come in that Willie Kimani has been murdered and has been killed and with his colleagues.
He was presumed missing.
So we were still being presumed missing, but we knew he was in the custody of the police. And so there was a proposal for people to do the habeas corpus case. And so I made the volunteer to do the habeas corpus case, and that's how I got in the case of Willie Kimani to its conclusion and to its logical conclusion. Yeah, that's how my legal practice has been. So we practice various disciplines, criminal law, which is my favorite because I love cross-examining witnesses.
Okay.
And of course, even issues of civil litigation. My power is at litigation.
Yeah.
My ability is at litigation.
Evidently.
And it's at cross-examination and the submissions. Yes.
So, as the firm Ndegwa, do you practice other areas of law?
Yes. We have the conveyancing department.
Okay.
We also have the IP department, that is the intellectual property department. And of course, now the emerging doctrines and about the environmental law. Yeah, we also had to do a bit of running downs. Yeah.
Okay, maybe now you can just tell us a bit about, from your experience, what you've seen as the emerging trends in the profession, and how you as a firm are, catching on with that. Because from our conversation, you seem to be practicing, the more traditional areas of practice.
Yes. Yeah, well, the new emergencies have not come to erase or eradicate the normal conventional practices. And of course, when you speak about the emerging issue areas, we also speak about the way court has now been constituted. To the extent now, as we are traditional litigators, where you have to move from one court physically to the next court. Now the court is with you in your office, the court is with you in your car, is with you in your bedroom. So the new technology has come to ease work and make it easy for us to represent our clients. But it has killed the social aspect of it, because it has killed the lawyer's interactions. The lawyer would interact with his client physically, interact with other lawyers, interact with the court. Now that has gone out to the drain, because everybody's behind his computer or behind the gadget that you're using at that particular time. So it at least has killed that particular taste. In Milimani, we used to have the lawyer's mess, where after court you'd go and take a cup of tea, a cup of coffee with other lawyers. We'd also had the opportunity of discussing your matters with other lawyers and getting some insight. No, that is no longer there. You'd fly to Mombasa for a hearing. Now you no longer fly to Mombasa, because you have the court with you wherever you are, and there is no much justification as to where you have to go. So that's what some of the things that have changed. Now the new emergency is that now IP is still not very widely practiced. That's one of the emerging areas, and of course now the environmental law aspect of it. And the emergence of the ELC court. And the ELC court, to me, is one of the most interesting courts, because it's a court that is now dealing with a significant part of the economy, noting that it is dealing with the issues of land. And we all say that land is a major factor of production
in Kenya.
In Kenya and everywhere else. And of course, it's a court that deals with the question of the minerals deposits. For example, now we are doing some cases in Mombasa, where a particular investor invested over 100 million. You see, now the court is dealing and holding that particular part of the economy until that case will be concluded. So those are some of the emerging issues that are asking ourselves, how can such cases which are significant to the economy being expedited? So there are some of the areas that have now emerged. We are still trying to, and of course there is now the IT law. The IT world. It's also emerging, and we are trying to cope up and try to see how we can fix ourselves in it.
Okay. Just sticking there about your law firm, what do you think sets you apart from other law firms? Like if I said, okay, I want a law firm in this building, what would make me want to work with Ndegwa as opposed to other law firms?
I think every law firm is unique in its own aspect. Just like the way you'll choose to drive a Toyota and not a Nissan or a Mercedes Benz and not a Mitsubishi. So I think it depends on the client's taste. What are you looking for in this particular market? If you're looking for people who are aggressive, perhaps one might decide it's Ndegwa. If you're looking for a person who will persuade the court in a particular manner, you might choose another person. So it's basically client's taste. Just the same reason why a client will choose, a customer will choose to read the Nation and not the Standard, or the Standard and not the Nation. It's preference.
Okay. So now with your farm and all that you do, is there what's your CSR? What do you do as a way of giving back to the community,
Oh.
even back at home?
Yeah, we also do a bit of pro bono cases in murder cases.
Okay.
We also do most of the pro bono cases. Like now when you are here, you've just had me mention something like, he's an old man. You've heard me telling my brother,
95-year-old.
you know, because my brother in this, when I was introducing the farm, I forgot to mention that it's my partner. So we are three of us, myself, my wife, and my brother, my younger brother, whom you just saw. So I was telling him that he wanted some assistance on how he can contact a client. And I told him, that client, you can't talk to him. He's over 90 years old. You need to drive there and go and see that client. You're doing that case for him pro bono.
Okay.
He has his property here in Ngara, which is being grabbed by grabbers. And so we just take it pro bono. Because that is part and parcel of not even social corporate responsibility, because we are not all that big, we are just a medium farm. But even from humanity perspective, like yesterday I was in Mavoko Law Courts. And when I was in Mavoko Law Courts, an accused person was brought to the dock. And you could clearly see that this accused person has been assaulted. He had blood on his shirt, he had bruises on his hand. And so the court sought to know what's happening with this man, what has happened to him, where did he get all these bruises from, and is he fit to take plea? So the guy said that I was actually battered by the police, I was assaulted by the police. And so me, I rose up and said, no, Your Honor, if there is an allegation about an assault, remember I have no instructions, but it's on basis of humanity. We must first of all deal with that question. We must summon that police, because he's capable of being identified. Let him appear here and tell us, how did this guy end up getting injured in the hands of the police? Because if we are not feeling safe in the hands of the police, where else can we be safe? You know what? There and there I said, I'm going to appear for this person. And I volunteered my services to appear for him so that justice can be served. And then the police has been summoned tomorrow. So they should to Mavoko, following up on that particular issue, just on that aspect alone, before this guy takes plea. Because it's no, so those are some of the duties of an advocate. You don't have to be triggered or motivated by payment or anything else. It's the duty of rectifying the ills and the odds in our society.
And I think that's one thing, that humanity aspect, treating not just clients, but everybody from the aspect of humanity, that sets you apart. Because, you know, for most advocates out here, it's making money, so it's business as usual. So thank you for that. That's actually, that's motivating. At least there are people who are out here in the quest for justice. Okay, as the team leader for this farm, what is your vision for the farm, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, we have a vision, because I told you I have a son who is 9 years old.
Yes.
This boy, I think from onset, he has decided that he's going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
From the onset. And of course, if that is not the decision that he has made, or perhaps from the influence that he has from his father and his mother, then we must make sure that this farm is available for transition or transmission at the most appropriate time. So that then he doesn't have to go and begin from zero. So we have the vision of making it, and the vision of making it thrive and be there for future generation. So we have the concept of the intra-generational equity, which we are trying to incorporate in the farm, so that our kids don't have to go and tarmac. And he practices law, because the other day he's contesting he want to be an environmental captain in his school. So I told him, Ndegwa, can I buy you some sweets? You know, I was testing his ability to understand things. And then you go and give your people that can vote for you. You mean, no, Dad, you're not supposed to bribe for you to get votes. Then I told him, Ndegwa, you need to go and tell your friends that if they vote for you, you'll be taking them for environmental tours, just to induce them to vote for you. So, Dad, let me go and talk to my teacher first. So I allowed him to go and talk to his teacher. So in the evening, when he came back, I sought to know whether he has actually told or informed his friends that if they vote for him, they will be taking him for environmental tours. He said, no, Dad, I've not spoken to them because I've not spoken to my teacher.
Okay.
So I thought, I sought to know, why is it important for you to speak to your teacher first? You know what he told me? Hey, Dad, I can't just go and tell them that I'll be taking them for environmental tours before I confirm with my teacher whether it is possible.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to give them false promises that I cannot fulfill.
Well.
So, you know, it tells you that he has a high sense of justice. And therefore, if he has a high sense of justice, we would want God to help us preserve the farm.
For that generation.
So that he can make use of it in his days when we are long gone.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
That's nice. I think you're raising
Yes,
good
yes.
children.
And by the way, what I do is that I mentor him. When I'm going to court during his holidays, I take him with him. I take him along. Okay. And I request the judge or the magistrate just to allow him to say hi to the court. Yes, that I do. That I do.
Okay, you're raising a second generation advocate.
Yes, because you must mentor them and motivate them.
We love to see it. Okay, so if there was, as a seasoned litigation advocate, what would be that one piece of advice that you'd give to young lawyers like myself who are upcoming in the profession and maybe who want to practice litigation in future?
In litigation, there is one thing that you must understand. Clients want a trustworthy advocate. They want an advocate who will execute the instructions and their brief as given. They want an advocate, clients want an advocate whom they can believe in, that is not going to be a sellout. You know, there is this idea of, oh, huyu wakili ameongea na huyu, wanaongea, kesi yangu imeharibiwa. You must tell them from the onset that an advocate, an opposing counsel is not my enemy. Me and the other counsel, we have no case. The case belongs to you. So don't try to think that because I have a case, we are opposing two opposing parties or adversarial parties, that the other advocates are now become my enemy, that I should not speak to him. No. Know that this person is my learned friend. And when you see me talking to him, it's not that he's compromising. So there is a whole aspect of integrity in practice.
Okay.
Only that, and that is what for me I eat. I eat from that aspect of people can trust you to deliver. Right? And that you will not be bribed, because bribery and corruption is rampant in this country.
True.
So clients don't want to deal with an advocate whom they cannot trust. Yes.
Okay. Maybe just now as we are almost wrapping up. The LSK politics, it seems to be gaining a lot of steam right now. And I know, of course, looking at the LSK politics and the changes that are about to happen in the Supreme Court in terms of some judges actually, going on retirement. What's your take on it generally, and also the position of the JSC?
My take is that even legal practice cannot thrive in an unstable democracy. And therefore, democracy is fundamental to livelihood. Democracy determines whether I'll have food or 3-course meal, or I have something to eat or not. It will determine whether this farm will practice or will be there or not, because there must be institutions that are going to issue licenses for me to practice. There must be a judicial system where the government is paying for the judge, is paying the salaries for the judges, building courts, expanding the ability to access justice and all those. So democracy is quite important and intertwined to our practice. And the Supreme Court is significant in determining our democracy. Is a major player in our democracy, because in the event of presidential dispute, that is the first point of call. And therefore, the composition of the Supreme Court is key. And you know, we now in the current setup, I think we have two judges who may not be sitting of the Supreme Court, who may not be sitting to hear the next presidential election petition, should it be filed in 2027. Therefore, also know that in the LSK, we are supposed to elect our representative to the JSC. The JSC is the one that plays the major role in filling those two vacancies that I'm speaking to. So the question of the candidate who is going to be elected by the LSK to represent the LSK in the Judicial Service Commission must be a person who is beyond reproach. Must be a person we can trust. Must be a person who is like the sister's wife.
Yeah.
Right? And must be a person whom we have seen what his past public engagement has been. So we have two candidates. We have that I know of.
Yeah.
We have the current president of the LSK, Mr. Deuri, and we have our senior, Mr. Umbati. So we are called upon to evaluate the two individuals. Of course, in mind that these guys will play a role in the composition of the Supreme Court, because their vote will matter and will count. So we must evaluate these two individuals from their public service perspective. What have they done? What impact have they done between Mr. Deuri and Mr. Umbati? And who among the two can we trust? I don't want to give my position, and if because I don't want to be accused. But that is the evaluation the LSK is being called to. Because if we mess up with our representative, and it happens that our representative is a person who can easily be compromised, then it means that we have compromised the entire country.
Yeah.
Because politicians will have an interest as to who becomes a judge.
Yes.
Remember, we have had issues whereby people are saying that the executive is attempting to interfere with the independence of the judiciary.
Yeah.
And that is true. So we must get, and you remember the executive is represented in the JSC. So we need a very neutral person from the legal fraternity who cannot be compromised. And I know whom that person is. I will not mention.
I'll talk to you behind the tent.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
now to our final question.
Yeah.
Just at least we know you're a father, so at least we've seen if you're not being an advocate, you're spending time with your children and stuff like that. But what is that one thing that most people do not know about you?
Now what they don't know about me is that I'm a mechanic.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I fix. If my car breaks down, I fix it.
Then you must be saving a lot.
I fix it. If my machines in the farm breaks down, I fix them.
You're trained as
No.
I've just thought.
It's something that I just. That is now the God's gift. Perhaps I was meant to be a mechanic
in another life.
in another life, because like now for us we do a bit of farming, coffee farming, in Kirinyaga. It's a partnership between myself and my brothers. So when the machine breaks down for irrigation or the pulping machine, I fix it.
Okay.
So that's of course, and I'm a farmer. By the way, every morning before I come to the office, I first of all do the issues of the milking. Yes, I have cows, yeah.
Okay.
And I sell milk. So my day starts at 4 o'clock in the morning, where I go to assist in the milking and the feeding of the cows. And then therein after I take a shower, drop the boy to school, and then come to the office or go to the court.
Yeah.
So that's the other life that I engage myself in. Or occasionally, when I'm in good moods, I prepare a meal for my family. Yes, occasionally.
We need evidence for
yes,
us.
That's what I do, honestly. Honestly, I do. And I just tell them, relax, I'll do this for you.
Okay.
And by the way, you guys need to test my delicacy.
Okay.
Yes, I'm good at it. Yes. Yeah.
I will not dispute because I have not seen, but by faith, I believe it's true.
Yes, by faith. Yes, it is. Not actually by faith. It's empirical.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
so
yes.
much. I think
Yeah.
this has been
Yeah.
a very interesting interview. So maybe just to wrap it up, you
Yeah.
can give us your parting shot.
My parting shot is that the LSK is a fundamental player in our democracy. The LSK is the one that was in the forefront in fighting for multi-party democracy. So if we have an LSK that is complacent, it means then we will not have a stable democracy. I'm so impressed with the LSK that has been with Mr. Deuri and as the president, and Faith Odhiambo as the vice president. They have really pushed the issues of public interest litigation.
Yeah, true.
And so we are looking at an LSK that will be able to perpetuate and propagate these issues forward. What Mr. Deuri has done and what Ms. Faith Odhiambo has done is commendable. It's completely diametrical from what Mr. Harvey and his council did. So during this term, we have seen a very stable LSK and an LSK that has been able to respond to the plight of the individuals. Suffice to note that Faith is still a candidate. Mr. Wanyama is a candidate for the seat. And I think Kamende is still a candidate. It's for the people to choose. And of course also Mr. Deuri is also running for the JSC seat. So we have choices of good people from whom we can choose from if we so wish. You remember that we have a serious issue here where most of the emerging cases, positions into the judiciary are being taken by the insiders. For example, I saw an advertisement of 20 judges of the High Court. So the JSC has been having a practice of promoting the insiders. And we in the LSK, we are left out.
Yeah, when we want those positions.
Yeah. So we never considered for either the position of judges, mostly, because they promote from inside. We only left to covet for the positions of the magistrates. So my position is, the next president of the LSK must fight to have our portion protected. Perhaps 30% of the judges being recruited must come from the LSK. At least we must have 3 more judges or 4 more judges being recruited from within the practitioners. I am looking forward to that candidate who is going to push for that agenda. And that candidate will be my candidate. Yes.
Thank you so much. You've given them a tip.
So
he who has ears, like Jesus said, let him hear.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the wonderful interview, Mr. Ndegwa, and for the warm welcome into your offices. We appreciate it so much. From us here at Lawyer Africa, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are. We appreciate it, every episode that you tune in, and we look forward to having you for many more episodes to come. Goodbye.